PC gaming is the absolute best way of playing video games, but it has the reputation of being a little bit complicated, quite difficult to get into, and quite expensive. But here's the thing, it really needn't be, as in this video I'm going to tell you everything you need to know, all the way from why PC gaming, through to PC parts, build or buy, and actually setting the games up on your computer. So all that's left to say is a massive thank you to Nvidia for actually sponsoring this video, and let's get started. Let us kick off then with what actually is PC gaming. I didn't realise I was so athletic. Well, as the name suggests, it is rather simply just gaming on a computer, loading up your favourite title via Windows rather than through an Xbox or a PlayStation. It brings with it some advantages, and honestly some disadvantages too, but as the most customisable platform out there, ultimately you're in control of the hardware that you play on, and ultimately how your games play, for better or for worse. I for one love the fact that you can play on a huge ultra-wide display, you can crank up the frame rates way past 100 FPS, and if you want to use a mouse and keyboard, then great. If you want to use a controller, then that's fine too. And this higher frame rate isn't just in a few games that have a performance mode, this is more or less in every single title. And once you've got used to 144Hz gaming, let me tell you, there is just no going back. You also get access to the proper range of strategy games that are infinitely better on PC, things like Civilization or Age of Empires. And ultimately it's the only place that has true backwards compatibility. There's no waiting for remasters, you just pick a game and then fire it up. The PC definitely used to have a lot of bad ports, which were games that were originally designed for Xbox or PlayStation, and they were ported across to the personal computer, and they didn't really run as well as they should do. You had bugs, you had performance issues, and while that definitely does still happen a little bit in certain games, the problem has got so much, I was going to say better, is that right? The problem has got more infrequent, as both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series S and X are actually quite architecturally similar to the PC, which I know is a little bit nerdy, but also means that you get better performing games that just look and play in a superior manner. I'm not doing very well with my words today, am I? Maybe I should make a new feature, word of the day. I know what it is today. It's Cruit. Look it up. Also throw into the mix the fact that crossplay between PC and console is actually a pretty common feature these days, and I'd argue that pretty much most of the problems of PC gaming of yesteryear are actually well and truly solved. If you do want to learn a little bit more about PC versus console, by the way, you can find my full video in the top left hand corner of your screen. So okay, you're interested in PC. Great, but what about the computer itself? What actually is a gaming PC? Glad you asked, and it's very simple really. A gaming computer is just a normal PC that's been spec'd out with a very high grade of processor and graphics chip. This could be a laptop, a tiny desktop tower, or a full custom water-cooled behemoth. They're all the same in essence really, it's just a computer that can run games. Where things get a tad more complicated is when you start asking what a good gaming PC actually is, as everyone has differing opinions. Games are generally rated from playable all the way up to jaw-droppingly good.
I'm not sure I can close this now.
Sound like 95. The real secret is understanding that a better PC will be able to run games at a higher frame rate and at better looking settings. The newer and more intense the game, the harder it is to drive, and the more powerful your hardware will need to be to actually get a decent frame rate. Generally speaking, a minimum of 30 FPS is needed for a good time. Ladies take note, but the modern consensus is that 60 FPS really should be the target for the optimal experience. And this is where buying a high quality graphics card comes in. I mean, I've taken this one apart. Yours won't look like that. I shouldn't have done that, I've made a mess. If you buy yourself a high quality graphics card, not only will you be able to keep up with the latest and greatest AAA titles, run them at high frame rates, but you also get access to a load of the latest features that are actually found on the GPU itself, which stands for Graphics Processing Unit, if you didn't already know. At the time of filming, Nvidia currently stock their Ampere RTX 30 series of graphics cards, from the RTX 3050 all the way to the newly released powerhouse, the RTX 3090 Ti. Stock levels are now better than ever, and these cards will enable your gaming PC to play your favourite titles with high frame rates. You'll also get access to nifty features like real-time ray tracing, Nvidia's awesome deep learning super sampling, and then the NVENC encoder that enables you to live stream or record your gameplay in real time at high quality without really affecting your frame rate. NVENC is also useful if you want to create content with those clips, as I'm doing in this very video. Ray tracing is an interesting one, as it's a headline feature of this generation, and it's getting better and better as time goes on. It's hardware accelerated, which means the GPU itself has these RT cores inside that are designed to let you render scenes with incredibly realistic lighting. It works a treat in titles like Control and Cyberpunk 2077, but you will need to have a powerful graphics card to actually have this turned on at high resolutions. The graphics card is usually the limiting factor when it comes to determining your frame rate, so rather than spending all of your money on like a huge capacity SSD or buying like 64 gigabytes of RAM, this should always be the focus whenever you're choosing a gaming PC. The only exception to this, in my rather glamorous box, is your CPU, or the processor. While this is still less important than the graphics chip, it's not actually that far behind, as in many modern games it is vital in maintaining sky-high frame rates, especially if you do want to play over 144Hz. Having said this though, you will get diminishing returns, as spending too much won't actually net you a better frame rate, and all it'll be doing is taking money away that you should have spent on that GPU. As a general rule, a Ryzen 5 or a Core i5 is usually the best bet when it comes to price to performance, so that's usually what I'd recommend for a gaming PC. If you're wondering, by the way, what the difference between a gaming laptop and a gaming desktop is, well, the short answer is that laptops use less power, and obviously they're portable, but they usually have a slightly lower frame rate. If you want to learn the full story and see which one is right for you, then hit the card in the top right corner of your screen. The next question that comes up time and time again is whether you should build or buy your gaming PC. And despite what anybody says, there's no right or wrong answer, but you should be aware that it is definitely a big decision. Building a computer certainly takes a little know-how, but contrary to popular belief, there's no soldering or extensive wiring to do. It's almost like techie Lego. You just get the parts together, you slot them in a case, and then plug the connectors into the right places. In case you weren't already aware, I have an extensive library of builds on my channel that will show you just how to build a computer, as well as the performance of each in various different games. So don't be worried about the difficulty, just watch the videos. Do get subscribed, by the way, if you're not already, so you get all of these builds straight to your inbox. I would say that build or buy is pretty much all about time versus value. Generally speaking, building it yourself is cheaper, you have a little bit more customization, but obviously it is going to take some time, whereas just going to like Overclockers here in the UK, loads of other great sites available, finding a PC you like the look of, hitting add to basket, getting it delivered a week later, it's definitely going to appeal to a lot of people, but for someone like myself that just loves to fiddle, learn a new hobby, build is always the way I would recommend. Once you do have your gaming PC parts all assembled nicely, it's now time to install Windows. And this can be done with a free download of Windows 11 from the Microsoft website before offloading this onto a USB flash drive, plugging it into your new machine, and following the on-screen instructions. It generally takes around about 5 minutes, but do be aware that you will need to buy a license key eventually in order to actually activate your rig. With that complete, you're then ready for the fun bit, getting your PC ready to actually game. There's not really that much to do, but a little TLC now will make sure that everything is running smoothly. Lots of people worry about drivers, the installable set of instructions that make your shiny new hardware run as efficiently as possible, but these days it's incredibly easy, as Windows will install the basics for you, and then the all-important one has never been more simple: graphics drivers. Graphics card drivers are important because they allow your graphics card to actually run games as effectively as possible, and there have actually been times that you can get up to a 50% boost just from updating your driver. Now that's what I call frame rate. If you buy an Nvidia graphics card, then all you need to do is download GeForce Experience, and this handy tool will take care of the rest for you. You get day one driver updates for masses of titles, which will result in better running games. And the best bit is that they're automatically downloaded and alerted to you, so you don't ever forget. You also get access to one-click optimizations that let you get the best settings for your games, which ensure you get the balance between frame rate and visuals right every time, without the usual rigmarole. The games themselves don't magically appear on your desktop though, and unlike consoles, you can't just put a disc in. And this bit is definitely a tad annoying, as you're going to need Steam for Destiny 2, Origin for Battlefield, Battle.net for Warzone, etc, etc. It's a right pain in the bum, but ultimately you will get over it. And don't forget that the online multiplayer is always free on PC. You don't need to pay any fees to Sony or Microsoft, and you can use this money to buy yourself a game instead. There is an easy way to sort of work around this, and that's by downloading two applications. The first one's called Discord, and the second is GOG Galaxy 2.0. catchy name as always. Discord is the chat and voice client that PC gamers use right now, which allows for cross-communication between PCs and mobile phones. GOG Galaxy, meanwhile, is a pretty nifty tool that unifies all of your games into a single browser and launcher. It's definitely not perfect, but it does make things a little bit easier. Once you've installed your games and updated your graphics driver, it's then time to actually get playing. I always recommend going into the options menu first, just to have a look if there's anything obvious that needs changing, things like resolution sliders or frame rate locks, but there's a lot more settings to tweak if you're a, well, tweaker. A quick hack if you need a frame rate boost is to try lowering down the resolution percentage, the anti-aliasing, as these all have a dramatic impact on your frame rate. DLSS should also be enabled where possible, as this Nvidia tech renders the game at a lower resolution before upscaling with AI to produce a super clean image, but with a much higher frame rate. Where DLSS isn't available, you can also use Nvidia's image scaler, or NIS for short, that gives you a similar boost to frame rate. If you're playing a multiplayer title where frame rate is way more important than visuals, then I'd always aim for a minimum of 100 FPS if you can, because it will give you the best competitive advantage.
It's always recommended to try and maximize your monitor's refresh rate, and in an ideal world, this will be 144 Hz or above.
The more frames per second, the lower the latency between a mouse movement and actually seeing action on screen, which is crazily important in a game of Apex or Warzone. You can lower the latency by having a higher frame rate, running a monitor that has super low input lag, and also with a nifty little setting called Reflex. Reflex reduces the time that it takes to output a frame on screen, and it works across a wide variety of titles such as Apex Legends, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege, God of War. All you need to have is a supported Nvidia graphics card, and then to actually enable this setting. And obviously there are loads more things you can do to give you the best PC gaming experience possible, but I am tired now. It is time to sleep. I mean, it's not, it's time to actually go shopping. I mean, look at my fridge. This is legit a photo of my fridge right now. That is tragic. So instead, I'm going to leave you with all of my other literally hundreds of videos that will explain all of these topics in much greater detail. You can find them in the end screen. Please smash the like button, get yourself subscribed so you get more videos just like this. And if you are interested in building yourself a gaming PC, I'll leave my favorite components listed down below with my Amazon affiliate links. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.